The problem with a lot of websites and blogs in particular is people don't pay attention to the performance of their blog. And what we're going to explore in this video is three things really. Number one, how you can monitor your performance. And I'm going to walk you through two very easy steps that you can use to increase the performance of your blog. And it's beneficial in two ways. Number one, Google treats performance of your website as part of their search engine optimization algorithm. The faster your website loads, the better ranking you have. So you want a higher performing website in order to get a better ranking out of Google. The second thing is user satisfaction. If your website takes forever to load, people aren't going to visit it. They're going to do exactly what I did. Hit the back button, go find another link, another blog that loads a lot faster. It's important that you focus on your website performance, and it's really not all that difficult to do. So let's take a look at a test blog that I created here. And what I did is I created 5 random posts. And there's really nothing to these posts other than having images stored on them. And what I tried to do is identify or pick some images that are a little bit larger in size, just to impact the performance of the website. And there's 2 sites that I typically use to monitor performance. The first one is called Pingdom. And what you simply do is you enter your website URL, and they have a number of test servers that you can access. And I just ran this test just before I started recording this video against my blog here. And you can see I got a performance grade of a C, a 73, gives me my load time faster than 85% of all tested sites. So I've got that going for me. And it gives me some insights into the performance, different things that you could potentially do to help improve the performance of your site. Minimize request size, leverage browser caching, and if you click on the little drop down there, it'll give you more specifics to take a look at. And if you scroll down even further, it'll break things out into different categories: requests, content size. You can see I've got images that are taking up just over 2.5 meg, scripts which are smaller, CSS, HTML, and gives you the size of all of this, and different domains that are being called when that website is being accessed. And you can see a little map here, a little heat map of what happens when your website is being loaded and how long it's taking to execute these different steps before the entire site is rendered to the user. So a lot of really good information on this. The other site I use is something called GTmetrix, and very similar. You enter your website, hit a test, and in our case here, the test server is based in Vancouver. You can mimic a specific browser that you want to use. In my case, I'm using Chrome, and it'll give you a score, 2 different scores. One is based on Google's page speed insights, not exactly identical to it, but it's close to it. And you can see based on this, it's giving me a grade of a B, or an 88%. And it gives me different recommendations that I can do to help improve the load time of that website, the performance of it. And in my case here, since it's a pretty simplistic website, I don't have a lot of information on it. I'm using it for testing. Most of my grades are really good here. You can see there's nothing I really need to do to improve most of this stuff. A big thing is optimizing my images, defer parsing of JavaScript, minify CSS, and you can see even then it's not that bad. The second score is something called YSlow, and if you click on that tab here, it'll give you some more information on what you can do to improve the performance of your site. So what we're going to try to do right now is see what we can do to improve our 3 scores here: the YSlow score, the page speed score, as well as the Pingdom performance grade score. So here we are in the WordPress dashboard for our blog, and the way we are going to go about trying to improve the performance of our site is through 2 different plugins. And if you've been following my how to start a WordPress blog series, I've walked you through how to install WordPress and different plugins and what some of the 6 must-have plugins are that you should have for your site. And the first one we are going to talk about here is this EWWW Image Optimizer plugin. This is a plugin that you can use to optimize the images on your website if you have a lot of images. And what it does is it really just takes a raw image that you've created or found on the internet somewhere, and it compresses it and shrinks it in size. And the theory goes, the smaller the size of an image, the quicker it will load over an internet connection. Makes sense, right? What we're going to do is just focus on this one right now. I don't need to do that. Let's just activate this. And you'll see there is a new version available, 3.6.1 where we're on right now, to version 4.0. And I checked this earlier and it was just released yesterday. And I do not like updating plugins that have just been recently updated for fear that it may break my site. I've had that experience before. So I usually give it a week or 2 to let the bugs work themselves out. So we're just going to stick with version 3.6.1 for now. As far as settings go, I am not going to change any of the settings. I'm not going to allow this. And what this will do now that it's activated is any new image that you add to a blog post or a page on your blog, it will automatically optimize them. There's no additional work that you need to do. It's just all done for you in the background, which is really kind of cool. In our case here, we've already added a number of images to our blog prior to activating this plugin. So what we want to do is optimize those images that currently exist on the website. And you can see up here, it gives you a little comment that says new images uploaded to the media library will be optimized automatically, which I just told you about. If you have existing images, you can use the bulk optimize tool, which is what we want to do. And it's part of this plugin here. And you can see 16 images in the media library have been selected. Those are my images that I've previously uploaded. And it will also scan your current theme and other folders to see if there's any unoptimized images there that we need to optimize. So let's scan for unoptimized images. Start optimizing. And this will take a little bit to go through, and you can see by looking up here at the top, it'll tell you what folder and what images are being optimized, and we are just going to let it do its thing here. It took about 3 minutes to optimize 67 images. And you might be wondering, okay, wait a minute, you just said you had, I think it was 16 images or something that I had uploaded. Why is there 67 images here? And the thing you have to remember is when you upload an image, it creates different versions of that image in different sizes and stores that within your blog. So it's optimizing all of those various sizes for the same image. And if you look through your optimization log here, you can see for each image that was optimized what the savings was for those images. So in this case, our first case here, this effects JPEG was reduced by 7%. This one was reduced by 33%. This one was reduced by, was cut in half. So you can see just by scrolling through this what the various impacts are to how much reduction in image size there was for each of the images on your blog. So it's a pretty cool tool, and you don't need to do this bulk optimization every time you upload an image. Like I said, as soon as you add an image to your media library, it's optimizing it in the background for you. So that's the first plugin that we wanted to use to help increase the performance for our blog. The second one, if we go back to the plugins page here, is something called W3 Total Cache. And this is a plugin, if you're not familiar with it, that is very powerful, and it will help create static pages of information based on the dynamic content on your WordPress blog. I know that it seems somewhat confusing, and there are a ton of settings that you can tweak with this to try to gain various performance improvements. So let us activate this, and I'll take you through it real quick here. I'm not going to go through each of the different functions, or we'll take just a quick look here. But if we go into the settings page here, I don't want this. You'll see over here it creates this performance tab, and you can see you've got a general settings page, a page cache, minify, database cache, object cache, and like I said, there are a number of videos and blog posts out there on what you can do to tweak these different settings to get every ounce of performance that you can out of things here. What I think we'll do for our test here is we'll turn a few of the things on. We want to enable page caching, and if you don't know what that does, it gives you a quick little description of the different things, and I believe it gives you a little bit it gives you a little guidance here on what you should select here. Usually you just want to leave the default, in our case here, disk enhance, so we'll leave that. Minify, we want to enable minification, and it's kind of neat here when you select certain things, it gives you a more background on what minification is and why you should or shouldn't do it. So let's just, yeah, I understand the risk. We'll leave it as auto. We'll leave everything set here. Database cache, let's enable that. Object cache, we'll enable that. And browser cache, it's enabled. CDN, we're not setting up a CDN for our site here, and I don't think we need to do anything else. So if you click any one of these save settings and purge caches, it will save our settings for us. So we don't want that. We've done the two things that I wanted to do to help increase or improve the performance of our site. So just for kicks, let's go back to our site here and make sure nothing has been broken. So it looks like by scrolling through this, everything is still set up. We've got all of our images. So everything seems like it's working fine. Now let's see what performance improvements we were able to sneak out of this here. Let's go to Pingdom. We've got our URL here. We'll test it from San Jose again. Let's start the test. And our previous grade was a C73 with a 1.22 second load time. This, our performance grade, just went up a little bit, 73 to a 74, but the load time decreased significantly. It was 1.22 seconds previously, and it dropped it all the way down to 387 milliseconds. So that's a pretty significant improvement. Faster than 98% of all tested websites, and I think before it was in the low 80s. I don't quite remember. Let me go back to our dashboard here, and if we go to performance, browser cache, you've got different settings for each of these things here. And if we look back at Pingdom, it says leverage browser caching, and you can see images and files that I have here it's saying, specify an expiration at least 1 week in the future for the following resources to help with your browser cache. And so what you can do here by going into the browser cache tab within performance here is you can play around with a number of different settings. And I wasn't really planning on getting into all of that in this video. I think I'll save that for another video. But you can set an expires header. Well, let's just try that for kicks, huh? So let's do that. What else do we have here? Cache control, e-tag. We want to do that. And let's just leave that alone. So we're going to save settings and purge cache. Let's see if we can improve that F18 here. Start the test again. So that made a pretty significant improvement on the performance grading. We went from originally a C73, then we got it up to a C74, now it's a B83, and you can see our browser caching score went from an F to an A here. Our load time jumped up, and that may be because of the caching. So if I rerun this, I just want to see if it's going to go down, which it should. And it did, 359 milliseconds. We still have our B grade, faster than 98% of all sites. So the reason why I regenerated the test is because the first time there was nothing cached, but by re-executing it, so when a user would come back to your site, those files are already cached, and that will improve the load time. So based on the two changes that we made with those two plugins, we went from a C73 to a B83, and we dropped our load time from 1.22 seconds to 359 milliseconds just by adding those two plugins. So let's take a look at GTmetrix now. Remember, we had a B88 on our page speed score and a C71 on our YSlow score. We're going to re-execute the test here. It had a pretty significant improvement. So we went from a B88 to an A97, and on the YSlow side, we went from a C71 to a B85. Just by adding those two plugins. And if we go back to our site here, just remember, there was only two things we did. We added, I guess, three things if you want to get technical. We added the EWWW image optimizer plugin, and we did the bulk optimization technique because we already had images on our site. And then we added the W3 Total Cache plugin. And if we look at the general settings, we just went through and we enabled page caching, minification, database caching, and I think browser caching was already enabled for us. But really what gave us our big jump is when we went into the browser cache settings. We set an expires header and the E tag. Actually, I think we set the last modified header. I believe, no, I take that back. That one was set. We set the expires header and the E tag. And I believe that was all we did there. So hopefully you found this helpful. Just a couple of quick little tweaks that you can do to really help improve the performance of your blog.